Okay, so it's just after 1 p.m. UK time. It's Friday, the 28th of June, and we're live on YouTube. So I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. You should be able to see my trading view chart for Euro US. I'm on the 15-minute chart. So, for the benefit of anybody watching the recording, we are looking at Crossfire, and at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK, we look at those first 4 pairs: Euro US, Euro CAD, GBP US, and GBP CAD. We also do Crossfire at 6 a.m. UK time, and in that session we look at these 4 pairs: Euro odd, Euro NZD, GBP odd, and GBP NZD. So we'll go back to Euro US dollar, and you'll see that I've got 2 trend lines on my chart, just randomly placed. I've got 1 green trend line above where prices at the minute, and I've got a red trend line below where prices at the minute. And I'm looking at this 1 o'clock candle. It's a 15-minute candle, so I'm waiting for that candle to close. So that's going to be in 10 minutes time, and then I'm going to accurately place those 2 trend lines and drop down to the 2-minute chart. So in the meantime, I'm going to look at the news. I'm going to look at Forex Factory first of all, and you will see that at 1:30 we've got Canadian dollar red flag news, we've got US dollar red flag news, we've got a couple of US dollar yellow or low impact items, but I reckon that at 1:30 p.m. there will be some price movement on both the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. It's possible also that at 2:45 we've got medium impact news on the US dollar, and at 3 p.m. we've got medium and low impact on the US dollar. So there's chance of some further price movement at 2:45 and 3 p.m. I always looked at my FX book as well, because they sometimes have a different perspective on things. And you can see that they've got at 1:30 medium impact 2 items for the Canadian dollar. They've got 1, 2, 3 high impact on the US dollar, a couple of medium impact, and another high impact on the US dollar. They've also got 2:45, 1 medium impact on the US dollar, and then at 3 o'clock, low and high impact all on the US dollar. So we can expect a little bit of price movement at all those 3 times. So what I normally do, waiting for this 15-minute count to close, I've got 8 minutes. What I can do is look at what happened this morning. There was very little going on this morning. On the Euro Aussie dollar, the Euro New Zealand dollar, British pound, Aussie dollar. I did spot 1 trade on the GBP NZD, so we'll look at that one. So to be able to see that, I need to go down to, there's the trade that I took. I took the trade on the 2-minute chart, and I used a couple of indicators. I used the clouds, and I used the straightforward Forex, and also in addition I use something called Water Atta. So if we look at, I'll just make that slightly bigger and go back to 6 o'clock this morning. And you will see that I'll just make it a little bit easier for you to read. My computer is really slow. Just bear with me 1 second. Also making it bigger, but it's actually making it smaller for some reason. Let me just try it again on this 2-minute chart. Going back to 6 a.m. this morning. And it's not reacting to my so I'll try and do it. So there's the 6 o'clock. Hang on. I'm going to reset the chart and try again. Right, okay. So looking at the bottom here, you can see that six atop there. And looking along the price, where the price went, it started off still within what I call no man's land, which is the wedge between the green and the red trend lines. So I'll wait till it breaks out. It broke out above the green trend line at 6:32, but I didn't get in because, first of all, we were in a wave down. We also had red PSARs pushing price down, so I wouldn't be getting in for a buy. At that point, we got a wave up, but we still had red PSARs above the price. And I'm also looking at the water ATA, and what I'm really interested in is at that point there where the black line, black explosion line, started to move away from the red dead zone line, and the histogram was above the black line. So that was a potential opportunity to get in at that point there. For whatever reason, I didn't get in. And let me just see if I can spot what the reason was. No, maybe I just missed that opportunity. So I could have got in at that point there. So I'm looking at that candle. I'm looking at this histogram. I'm looking at that candle. So I could have got in, but it didn't go particularly far. Perhaps as well, I missed that opportunity. So then it went a bit sideways. And again, looking at the water ATA, I'm looking at this as being the first opportunity to get in. But when I look above, I'm seeing that there wasn't room to profit because very often price will come down, but it will reject from the green trend line. So I wait until it makes another move at 8 o'clock exactly. There was what's going on? There's something unusual going on with my laptop. Anyway, you can see that I would have got in halfway through that candle. I would have used a stop loss of 6.9 pips because that was just below the red trend line. And that meant that I needed to get up to 1 to 2. I needed it to get up to that blue dash line. What I normally do before I get into a trade is I go to a higher time frame. So I'm going to go to a 15-minute time frame and let's see where we are. So that's my target. And if I can get the screen to stay in one place. I'm looking left. And I'm really looking for some imbalance at that level. So I need to go a lot further back and bring down the so that's my target, my blue, that dashed blue line is what I'm looking for. And if the computer would only react to me, I would find some imbalance. It's just not doing what I want it to do. Okay, so it's not going to do that. I'll try it on the 1 hour. So whilst we're here, this is going back to the date on there, which was the 10th of June. So there was some imbalance there. If I can catch it before it moves itself away. Price quite low. That was imbalance there. There was imbalance all the way up and imbalance on the way down. So that mitigated that imbalance, but that's still a target. And so I would feel comfortable getting in, even though it was over 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to go back to the 2-minute chart and reset that chart. I'm just not having any joy with this. Maybe we're now looking at the 1 o'clock. Yeah, the 1 o'clock candle is now closed, or it should have closed. So I need to go back to this afternoon's chart. But basically, this morning on GBP NZD, I managed to get 2% on that trade, which I'll just try again to find. There we go. In fact, just move that down. So I'm going to leave it there. I got into the trade, it went up and beyond my target, and I got out with 2%, and that was just after 8 o'clock this morning. So I need to go back to this afternoon's pairs, see if we can have a bit more joy on controlling what's going on my screen. So if we right click there and reset that chart, if it will react. And that's where I need to be. So I'm looking at this candle here, which is the 1 o'clock candle. I'm looking at the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock candle, and I'm looking left, and I'm seeing that the very next candle is slightly higher. So I'm looking for the nearest higher candle. So it's the top of that wick there, and I need that to come down and touch. And if I can make it slightly bigger so you can see, I'm going to drag that down so that it touches the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock candle. I apologize for the shakiness of my laptop. I don't know what's going on, but there we go. So I've touched the top of the 1 o'clock wick. I've looked left and found that that's the nearest high. I'm going to do the same with the bottom. So that's a 1 o'clock candle. When I look left, I need to go down to this one here. And then I need this trend line to touch the bottom of there is a small wick on the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle. There we go. So that's one pair marked up. I hope to get the other three done a little bit easier. So Euro CAD. When my trend lines appear, there we go. So the trend lines are totally out of place. I just need to move that up there. Need to move that down there. And need to take off the straight ball for it. Take off the clouds. And so this is also take off imbalance. So that's the 1 o'clock candle. I'm looking at the top of the candle and I'm looking left and I can see that that candle there, take the clouds off again. So that candle there is very slightly higher. So I need to drag this. There we go. So that's touching the 1 o'clock at the top and touching the nearest higher at the top. Looking at the bottom, I need to go to the next candle and it's going to be a really steep incline on this one. A little bit further. There we go. So that's two pairs set up. GBP USD. Where's my trend line? There we go. So move that down out the way. So there's the 1 o'clock. There's the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock. Looking left, I can see that that's the nearest higher. And then I need to drag this down so it touches the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock. There we go. And looking at the bottom, I need to go to the next candle, which is the nearest lower candle. Just a little bit further. There we go. That's 3 of the 4 pairs marked up. Try the last one. There's the 1 o'clock candle. I'm looking at the top of the wick and I'm looking left and I can see that that candle there is the nearest high, nearest higher candle. Not that one. And that's almost in position. Just spread that down slightly. And then looking at the bottom, I need to go to this next one. And then the other really steep incline there. Okay, so I've now marked up all 4 pairs on the 15-minute chart. I'm going to take off the magnet tool because it interferes with anything else that you try to do. I'm going to drop down to the 2-minute chart. I'm going to put back on the straightforward Forex indicator, the cloud, and the water atta. Now on GBP CAD, I can see that price tried to get above my green trend line, but then rejected. It's now below my red trend line, but we're still in a wave up. So that's contradiction. we're looking at an upward movement. We've got a green cloud, which is an upward movement. We've also got the other confusing factor is that with the 200 moving average, which is the black line, is very close to the 13 moving average, which is the red line, and the 62 moving average, which is the green line. So they're all bunched up together, which means that there's not a lot going on. And finally, down at the bottom, you can see that the volume is very low and the black explosion line is actually pointing downwards. It needs to be pointing upwards. It needs to be as it was when it was on that candle there. So the black line moving away from the red line and a histogram above the black line, that's what I'm looking for. And so I need to wait and see if price gets above the green trend line, then there may be an improvement down here. However, we've got news in 6 minutes time, so it may be that price just moves sideways between now and then. So we'll look at the other three pairs. Once again, we've got a bit of conflicting information. We are below the red trend line, so I should be looking for sells. I've got the wave down and I've got red PSARs pushing price down. I've also got a red cloud. However, the red cloud is above the 200. I would prefer it if the red cloud was below the 200. And also, I'm looking at the water atta, which is not in my favour as of this minute. Euro CAD. Now, we've tried to get above the green trend line, but it's rejected. So we are in a way, well, we are above the 200. The 13 and the 62 are below, well, the 62 is definitely below the 200. I would prefer it to be above if I was getting in for a buy. And also, this isn't to my liking just yet. And if I look at the last pair, I'm waiting for the trend lines. Okay, so we've tried to get, a couple of occasions, we've tried to get above the green trend line, but it's rejected. It also seems to be rejecting off yesterday's POC. So it just broke past the POC on that candle and then came back. It actually wicked up to the POC and then decided to come back. So there's a bit of a battle going on between the buyers and sellers. The buyers are trying to push price above yesterday's POC. The sellers are using it as a marker, as a no-go area beyond that. We also have the water atta not in our favour, but remember we've got news in 3 minutes time. I'm just going to have a look, whilst we're waiting for that news, I'm going to have a look at my test screen for Crossfire. We're testing this training assistant. Some of these lines shouldn't be here. Let me see, that green line is a valid line, that red line is a valid line. We've got some left over from this morning, I'm guessing, and maybe from a previous day. So ignore these three bottom red lines. What we're interested in is price getting above. It is actually below the red trend line. It's trying to get above the green trend line. And when it does, we've got, on this screen, we've got the 200 moving average as a white line. We've got the blue and the yellow, which is the 13 and the 62 moving average. So the 13 has already got above the 200. The 62 is just about to cross over. When that crosses over, and we've got the price above the green trend line, we've also got the green, that's the whole moving average, and we've also got the green Heiken-Ashik candles. So when we get the next candle, and we're on the 1 minute chart, so each of these candles is just 1 minute. The next one, I believe, providing this yellow line is above the 200, we should get into a buy trade. The yellow line is obviously not quite above the 200 just yet. It will be interesting to see what happens when the news hits up in 1 minute's time. So this is telling me we've got 39 seconds left till the next candle opens. It'd be interesting if it takes a trade if price goes upwards. It's not supposed to take a trade if price goes downwards because we only take, well, ideally I would want price to get below that green trend line for a sell. We're already below the red trend line, but my thoughts are I want the price to be below the green line for a sell and above the green line for a buy. So it's obviously not yet got, there we go. We've now got, there we go, that's in 1 o'clock news. Now, for some reason, it didn't get me into a trade. In which case it's likely that the next candle, it will put me in a trade. I don't normally trade around the news, but on this particular test, I'm just disregarding the news. Not necessarily a wise thing to do if you're trading live. Let's just see. We've got about 10 seconds left on this candle. I'm hoping that the next candle will get into a trade. It's not happening. It must be regarding that yellow, which is the 62 moving average. It must be regarding it as not having crossed the white line, but it has. I'm not understanding why it didn't take a trade there. Must be some other reason. Why is it not taking trades? Well, anyway, let's have a look at the other tests that I'm doing, which is on the Paul's 1 minute scalping. You can see these are different moving averages, but you can see that they're all above the white one, which is the white one is the 68. That's the highest moving average on this. And once again, for some reason, it hasn't taken a trade. To come back and work it out. So we're looking at US dollar on the 1 minute scalping. I would have expected it to get me in a trade on that, certainly on that candle. And it's not doing so. But anyway, this is why we're testing. I'm going to go back to this afternoon session on traditional crossfire. Now, on traditional crossfire, I don't generally trade around the news. So I would avoid this. I would wait until this news settled down. Everything's telling me I should be in for a buy. I'm just going to go through the different indicators that I'm seeing. I'm seeing, first of all, that I'm above the green trend line. That's a green trend line. We've got this is indicating a suggested stop loss if you're getting in for a buy. I don't know why it's gone so far across. It normally just goes like this one, just across a few candles, but for some reason it's all the way across. But anyway, we're in buy mode. We are above the green trend line. We've also broken past yesterday's POC, However, we've got a red PSAR, which is pushing price or attempting to push price down. So the 13 moving average and the 62 moving average are both pointing upwards, and they're both above the 200. So that's telling me I'm good to get in for a buy, but I wouldn't get in until this news settles down. The water ATA is also telling me I'm good to get in. But personally, I wouldn't trade, not manually anyway. I wouldn't trade around the news. I would wait until this news settles down. So that's Euro US, and there was US dollar news at 1 o'clock. There was also Canadian dollar news at 1 o'clock. And you can see that's the 130 candle. I'm on the 2-minute chart, so that's the 130 candle, that's the 132 candle, and then the 134 candle has decided to come back down again. But I'm just going to wait until the news settles down. I can see that the black explosion line is actually now pointing downwards, so that would keep me out of this particular pair. Go back to the other euro pair. Just double check. Yeah, the explosion line is either pointing sideways or pointing downwards, whichever way you want to call it. So that's telling me to keep out anyway. GBP USD. Similar situation. You can see that the price wicked down before it went up, wicked up, and then came back down again. Then it had another attempt at going up. So it's basically what's happening there is that the big boys are manipulating price. They've pushed it down to take out stop losses of anybody who was in for a buy, and then they've whipped it up to take out the stop losses of anybody who was in for a sell. Before they then pushed it back down again. So that's why I avoid the news, because the news generally is used by the big boys to hide their or to disguise their price manipulation. They've been on a what we call a stop hunt. They've seen people sitting with stop losses down here. They've seen people sitting with stop losses up there, and they've just had a bit of a field day. I'm just going to take off that magnitude. I don't know why I've taken that off before. So I would keep away from the news under normal circumstances. GBP card. When I get my trend lines in, there we go. So similar to the previous pair, they've wicked it down to take out stop losses, then they've wicked it up to take out stop losses up there. They've then found some resistance because that red trend line is providing some resistance, and so it's rejected off that. And it's now hovering around about the green trend line. So not a good time to get in. I'm going to go back and look at my test screens. Still not in the trade. I'm not going to need to look back at that later and find out why it didn't get me in. And this one also hasn't got me into the trade, so there's something not working correctly. So I would have expected to have been put into a trade on the way up there, and then possibly either up to my take profit or would have been taken out. Because when these Heiken-Ashi candles change from You know, we've still got green like an ashes, so that probably wouldn't have got me in for a sell, even though the moving averages are turning down, but they're still above the the bigger moving average. So that's contradiction to that. So maybe that's why it didn't get me in. Okay, we'll go back and look at. Okay, so is price actually settling down after the news? It's 13:39 UK time. So we're 9 minutes after the news. Price may just start to settle down now. So I'm looking at, we're above the green trend line, so I'm thinking buys. I've got green PSARs and a wave up, so that's confirming we should be looking for buys. The 13 moving average is above the 200, but the 62 moving average is just slightly below the 200. So personally, I would wait for that 62 to get above the 200. We are in a green cloud. We have got green wave blocks, but we don't have the water at it the way we like it. So on this pair, I'm going to wait. I'm thinking about getting in for a buy, but I'm also considering if 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 the next candle is a green candle and starts give us the impression it's moving upwards, it might actually come to this red trend line and then reject off it because it is a resistance. And so price could come from down here up to there and then reject. What I normally do in that situation is I measure the distance. This is what I call my room for profit. So if I measure from where price is now up to that red trend line, there's 6.8 pips. By the time I got in, it would be less than 6.8. Therefore, I'm not really interested because my suggested stop loss is way down here. There's another one here, but that's still not, it still wouldn't get me a 1 to 2. So my stop loss would need to be that point there, just above the 200. And therefore there's not sufficient room to profit. I'm looking for 1 to 2s rather than 1 to 1s. And I'm not going to get in until this situation is resolved. So I'll just keep flicking through the pairs and seeing what the charts are telling me. So when the trend lines decide to appear, there we go. We're above the green trend line, so we should be looking for buys. But price is actually coming back down. We're actually below the red trend line, so a bit of a confusing situation. As I said before, when price comes in between the two trend lines, there's always a chance that it will reject from the one that it's aiming at. So it's come down to this green trend line. Now it's getting stuck. It may go past, it may then get stuck at the 200. Plus the fact we've got green PSAR pushing price up, and we've got this scenario which is not to my liking. So nothing to do on the GBP pairs. I'm seeing sideways movement here. I'm seeing price just sort of struggling along sideways. We're below the green trend line, so I can't get in for a buy. We're also below the red trend line, so I should be thinking about sells, but we're actually in a wave up. We've got green PSAR, so contradiction, but look at that area there is pretty much moving sideways, isn't it? It started off here, and it's still there. It's still at the same point. No, and the water atta is not favourable. USD, Euro USD. Okay, so the big boys manipulated price. They brought it down to take out stop losses. They pushed it up to take down stop losses. Now it looks like they've made the money. They've made enough money. They're now pushing price down to where it was. It's noticeable that we're below the red trend line, so we should be thinking sells. We're also below the 200 moving average. What I really like is to see the red and the green lines, which is the 13 and the 62 moving average. I would like to see them drop down below the 200 moving average. It's showing signs that we should be looking to sell, but until you see that the red has just crossed, or it's about to cross over the green, that's a good sign. We're in a wave down. We've got red PSARs pushing price down. What I want to see is the 200 moving average and I want to see the 62 moving average and the 13 moving average come down and get below the 200. So I'm going to wait for that. So I think we might be sort of looking at a long wait for a move. I'm just going to go through my options for this afternoon. So on Euro US, if I was going to get in for a sell, I would wait until those two moving averages got below the 200. And then I might consider getting in. If we're still in a wave down, we've still got red PSARs, we've still got red wave blocks, and I want this explosion line to be above the red dead zone line and pointing away from it. And then I want the histogram to be above the black line. So a number of things have got to change before I'm going to get in there. It is possible that if price does decide to come down, then it might come down as far as the end of my yellow shaded area, which is today's field of play, and it might then decide to go back up again and go back up to yesterday's PLC. If it doesn't, if it breaks outside the field of play, there's every chance it will continue going down. Just going to look further south and see if there's anything for it to go down there for. Might need to look at a higher time frame. I'll put on the S3P, which is going to give me some lines. There we go. It doesn't seem to be any outstanding POC below my prices now. There's lots of outstanding PLCs above, as you can see there. I'm going to look to the 1 hour. So all the outstanding PLCs are above where price is now on Euro US. There aren't any below. So go back to the 2 minute, take off that SVP, go back to the 2 minute. And if I just reset that chart. So I'm waiting for a better setup. I want the red line, the green line to be below the black line. So that's the two moving averages below the 200 moving average. That would be my first wish. And then I'd want to see the water atta, the black line pointing away from the red line and the histogram above the black line. Then I would consider getting in for a sell. But you can see what's happening. Price has broken past the 200 moving average, and then it's gone back to recheck the 200 moving average, and it's currently just hovering on the 200. So no reason to get in there just yet, but we might well end up looking for, we could end up looking for a sell if it breaks out below the field of play, or we could be looking for a buy because there are lots of outstanding POCs up there, up above where my chart is now. So I'll wait. I could set an alert if I wanted to walk away from the screen. I could set I could put an alert above there and an alert below there and just walk away, get the alert on my mobile. but I'm going to sit and watch the screen this afternoon. When I get my trend lines, there we go. We're struggling to get above the green trend line. It's obviously quite a strong resistance. We are already below the red trend line. We're in a wave down. We've got green pre-sale. We've got the first red pre-sale on this new candle. So it might be shaping up for a selling situation. If it comes into this field of play, we need to consider yesterday's POC as a potential target. So the green moving average is below the 200, but the red moving average is above the 200. I would prefer them both below, and I would prefer the water atta to be a bit stronger. So what I'm looking for is this black line to start moving away from the red line, and then I want the histogram above, I want it to be dark red and above the black line. So it's not quite set up correctly just yet. But I'm going to be looking out for potential sell down to that line there. If we find prices going upwards, maybe to check and see if there are any outstanding POCs. Yes, there's an outstanding POC. So there's a target if price decides to go upwards. There's a target if it decides to go downwards. We'll reset. USD. So I'm above the green trend line, so I'm thinking buys, but I'm also looking at the red trend line, which is going to provide resistance, but price might bounce off that rather than go upwards. It's actually just trying to break through yesterday's POC. If it breaks away from the POC and breaks away from the red trend line, we might be looking at an upward movement. We might be getting in for a buy. However, we are actually in a wave down. The red and the green moving averages are above the 200 moving average, so that's telling me we should be looking for a buy. But we need to wait for a wave up rather than the current situation, which is wave down. Water atta needs to change as well. Yeah, lots of indecision. We tried to get above the green trend line and rejected off the red trend line. It's now coming back and it's going to test the 200 moving average. You've got the other moving averages straddling the 200. A lot of indecision going on there. We're in a wave down, but we've got green PSAR, so nothing to see there. That sound you might have just heard was me being entered into a trade. Not on that chart. So that's the 5 trade 1352. But it hasn't placed a buy trade. Oh, yes, it has. It has traded buy. It's placed a buy trade, and I'm actually in profit. So get rid of that. So I'm in a buy trade on this test for, it's the Crossfire test I'm doing. There's Crossfire, and I'm currently $285 in profit. This red line, this dash red line is my take profit target. There's my stop loss. Just ignore these 3 red lines here, they're not relevant. I'm not quite sure what that one is for either. these are things that we need to sort out. So we're currently at 240, 220 in profit. Let's just watch that for a minute. 360 in profit. Right. There's a message up there that I don't understand, but I shall deal with that later. Nice to finish with a win. I'll just try something here. Okay, so it's turned, we're now in a small loss situation. And now it's going back up again. Right, okay, I think I'm going to call it a day. On this afternoon session, there's nothing moving really quickly. No trades, no trading opportunities showing themselves. It's Friday afternoon. There is some more news at 2:45 and 3 o'clock, so we might see a big move then. But just keep your eye on the charts. That's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to thank you for jumping on and tell you I'll be back same time Tuesday. I'm going to put the recording of this session into Discord straight away. So thanks for jumping on. Have a good weekend and catch you on Tuesday.